Hard work alone doesn't guarantee promotion. And for many leaders, that realization comes way too late. Well, today on Transformation Station, we're breaking down the science of promotion and what actually moves careers forward, why talent sometimes gets overlooked, and how leaders like you and I can position ourselves for that next level with intention. Come on, let's get into it. Welcome back to Transformation Station, the podcast where growth meets strategy and leadership meets self-awareness. I'm your host, Adrienne Benton, and today's episode is about clarity. Clarity around advancement, influence, and how opportunity really works. I have an amazing guest today, Lizette Warner, and I can't wait for you to meet her because she brings deep expertise in leadership development and career progression. This conversation that we're going to have is about aligning performance with visibility, capability with credibility, and ambition with strategy. But before you meet Dr. Warner, I have some wonderful news that I want to share with you. Are you ready? Hey, guess what? Because you have built up this community, we hit 2,000 podcast downloads. I can't thank you enough for keeping our community going. And as a matter of fact, you've been sharing, and I'm so grateful. So I want to invite you to do this for me. If you have missed any episode, in season 1 and in season 2, I want to invite you to go back and get caught up because we just hit 3,000. But I know as you continue to engage and share, guess what? We're going to hit 4,000 and 5,000, and we're going to take Transformation Station all around the world. All right. Well, let me tell you about our guest today. Dr. Lizette Warner is a smart rewiring scientist who helps senior leaders accelerate promotions, make better decisions under pressure, and beat burnout with neuroscience-backed strategies. She is an executive coach who was a former healthcare chief senior officer and now COO at Trust and Leadership. Her work has been featured in Fast Company and TEDx, and she's the author of Power, Poise, and Presence. I'm so happy that today, Dr. Warner, we are so glad that you are joining us. Welcome to Transformation Station.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about the science of promotions. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Dr. Warner, Lizette, what stands out about your work is how you demystify something so many people struggle with. We struggle this, and I say we, right, as leaders, we struggle with this many times in silence because promotion, I have found that it really isn't just about doing more. It's about being seen as ready also. So I want to start off by asking you this question. From your experience, what's the most common misconception that you have found that leaders have about what it takes to get promoted?
Gosh, I think probably the thing that comes to mind immediately is executive presence, right? A lot of people come into coaching feeling like they need that executive presence in
Mhm.
order to get seen. And I think the second one you didn't ask, but is the second one is communication. Like I need to improve my communication skills. And so people are out there taking classes, watching webinars and reading books and signing up for all sorts of workshops in order to get that executive presence or to have that level of communication that they feel that they need. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. One that I was thinking of as you were talking
Mhm.
was this one, the miscommunication of if I perform well, I'll be promoted. You
Mhm.
know, I have over 2 decades, and I can honestly say that there was a season where that was my mindset. Like almost like I'm checking off a list. I gotta do this and I gotta do this and I gotta do this. And I did this and I did this. And guess what? When it came time for promotion, my name was not on the list. And I
Mhm.
was devastated. I'm like, what do you mean? I've done everything. I performed well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, if I do the things, if I perform well, then I'll get promoted. And
Mm,
it's not the way it works.
mm,
People aren't promoting, I mean, people for the tasks that you do, it's the
mhm,
impact that you have and
mm,
the way that you go about doing your work and
mm,
showing that you're thinking beyond just the tasks. And when
mm,
we get focused on the task, we lose sight of everything else. It's the same
mm,
as a hunter, right? A hunter goes out and they're hunting. They have their sights on their prey,
mhm,
and almost everything else gets excluded in that moment when they're just looking at that thing. And so that's what can happen to us at that same time, right? We're focusing on checking off the things, making sure that I do this, and the other, but we're not looking at the entire scope and what's the best for the business and showing that you're thinking on another level beyond just the doing.
I like that. What do you think about this? The most effective leaders don't wait to be promoted to act at the next level.
Yeah. Yeah, that we say that all the time.
Mm,
If you're if you're behaving or waiting to behave as
mhm,
if you've gotten until you've gotten that promotion, you're already behind. You need
mm,
to start demonstrating that you're operating at that next level
mhm,
before you ever walk into that next level.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
1,000%.
And I guess part of that too could be too because while sometimes people look good on paper, sometimes the looking good on paper doesn't actually translate into how they conduct themselves or they operate, right? And so if you're operating at the next level, then what is down on paper as far as who you are will match how you um, execute just your daily tasks, how you execute your leadership, and then that will help to build trust. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's you're setting up yourself to already be seen as operating in that next level so that when the time comes, Adrian, as you just said, right,
Mhm.
your name is already in the mix before you've even thrown your hat in the ring. People are already talking about you because you're showing up at that next
Mhm.
level. And so that requires a lot of things, not just sort of doing the things, but making sure that you're showing up, that your nervous system is showing up already at that next level. Because
Mhm.
that people are reading that. People think, oh, they're going to read the things that I do, but they're reading so much. We're humans, right? We read underneath the surface. We
Yes.
read emotions, we read the your energy, the way that you show up here, your audience. Probably the reason you have so many downloads, right, is your energy, and that is palpable. You can hear it, and
Mm,
you can see it. And so that is the same sort of thing that people, when they're looking for promotions, they
mhm,
need to start showing up instead of having that doubt, that inner doubt of, oh, I'll have the confidence when I'm given the
mm.
ABCD. You have the confidence before you're given ABCD because that is what's going to help you land ABCD.
Ooh, this is powerful and really a great area. So here in Transformation Station, we always take a moment to just kind of assess, to pause, to reflect. And this is a great place to stop and to assess and to reflect leaders, right? As Dr. Warner has talked to us today, what are you putting out? Are you the same person who you are without the promotion that you'll be when you have the promotion? What is the messaging that you're putting in? What is your energy level, right? I want to ask you this question. When you talk about the science of promotion, what key principles or psychological factors are most people unaware of that actually drive upward mobility? I think you
Mm.
started talking about it a little bit, but what are
Yeah.
some of the key principles?
I think the biggest principle, the biggest kind of shift in people's mind isn't what we talked about earlier, which was the executive presence, it's the communication, it's the foundation that allows those things to shine. And that is your nervous system. The way that your nervous system is wired to show up, that is what demonstrates to everyone your executive presence, your communication, because when your nervous system is regulated and calm, you are able to come up with the answers. You don't need to study 18 million different drafts. Yes, you need to know your stuff, but when your nervous system is calm, that's when you're making really good decisions. That's when you're showing up at that next level. That's when people are actually seeing that, oh, this person is calm in a storm. And you may not feel 100% calm in that storm, but your nervous system is calm enough that you can make those decisions, those actions, and communicate in a way that resonates with everyone else. Like all the things that I've been talking about here, I don't have a draft of them. I don't have a script that I'm reading off of. But because my nervous system is calm, I'm able to tap into my intuitive wisdom, and I can have a conversation with you when you're asking me a question that is not scripted.
Absolutely, 1000%. And to every leader that's watching right now, I want to invite you to go ahead and put in the comment section what is resonating, what's connecting with you right now as you look at your leadership journey, as you look at those who you are leading on your teams. What in this conversation is resonating you? Share it with us in the chat right now. One of the things that I was thinking about as you were talking is this right here. Confidence signals competence. And I'm going to pause right there for a moment because I think that's just a powerful phrase, a line right there. Confidence signals competence. Competence without confidence creates doubt. Confidence without arrogance creates trust. Leaders hear us. Psychological factor. People subconsciously equate calm certainty with, it should be capability. Calm certainty with capability. You know, Lizette, I think about some of the leaders that I admire the most. And I've often had people, you know, say, oh, you know, who do you admire? Well, why do you admire them? And you know what? I find myself often saying, I admire them because I've seen them maintain their composure under pressure.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and it is awe-inspiring when you see those leaders. How do they do it? Right? We've all seen the leaders who walk into a room and they're on edge. They end up, you know, they may be scattered. They don't have their thoughts in order. Something happens that's unexpected, and all of a sudden, not only that leader is showing up kind of chaotic, but the entire room. What I like to tell people is that people regulate to you. People often come into my coaching space, and probably yours too, Adrienne, right? They come in and they comment, oh my gosh, you're so calm. They may walk in completely flustered, and then they walk out 1000% like calm and regulated, because what happens as human beings, we regulate to each other. So that leader that's coming into the room and is chaotic, the team, that leadership team is regulating to that leader. So if you want to demonstrate that you are a leader that people can follow, then you need to regulate your own emotions, your own nervous system, because what is inevitably going to happen is everyone in that room is going to start regulating to you.
That's a whole word right there. We can literally end the podcast. You have taught a masterclass. That's so true. That's so true. You know, I have been in multiple situations where somebody was leading me, and like you said, they were chaotic, they were frantic, and everybody else, we just all jumped right into that same emotion, and everybody was, you know, and then others, when it's calm, yes, the challenge was still there, but everybody actually stopped, maintain being respectful, and work together in a more unified manner to try to get to the resolution. Not always easy, right? Because we're not perfect as human beings, you know? It's not always easy to remain calm under pressure, but I truly believe that that is a discipline that we should strive. If we do it in the micro, in our daily habits, then when the pressure-filled moments really come, it's more natural, and we more lean to that as opposed to jumping into the chaos or leading with chaos.
Yeah, and magic happens in those moments, right? There was a an article that I was reading. It was reminding me of a catastrophe that happened mid-flight, and it was a British pilot who was manning or piloting the plane. So many souls on the aircraft, and they had flown over. I think this was like, it was evening. Anyway, they had flown over. There was ash in the air because there was a volcanic eruption, and it clogged up the engines. So one by one, each of the engines went out. The plane was gliding over the ocean, and over the intercom comes a pilot saying, "We've encountered a small problem." It's not a small problem.
Right.
We've encountered a small problem, right? They're working frantically. He asked everyone to remain calm. And what ended up happening is he was able to restart the engines after the plane descended, and the whatever was clogging up the engines, it had kind of frozen over, and then it was able to break. So he was able to restart the engines. But that level of, we have no engines, we are gliding, we've encountered a small problem. You know what that did to the rest of the cabin? All of those passengers now took confidence, and we have a small problem, right? They could have easily panicked, but how is that going to help anything? Right. So it's that level of certainty, right? And of course, the British, highly understated, right? We've encountered a small problem. It's very British, right? To be able to come up with something like that. But that calmed everyone on the plane. Crisis averted, but it's a huge lesson, I think, for us.
Absolutely, 1000%. So then what would you say are the biggest mistakes that professionals make when trying to get promoted? And Lizette, what does the research or data suggest that we should do instead?
Yeah. So I think the biggest mistake, and you've mentioned it already, right, is we work harder. We work harder and harder. We keep doing the things that we think are going to get us promoted without taking stock of, where am I starting from? Right? What assets, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Same as you would do a market analysis, or what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my opportunities? What are the threats that are out there? But doing that for yourself in your career. Oftentimes, many of us don't know what our strengths are, what our values are, until we start working with a coach. We go and we do an assessment. We do that assessment, and then off sits the results. Oh, yes, I got my Clifton strengths. I'm the ABCD, right? And then they've completely forgotten it. But really understanding yourself, trying to understand, where are your strengths? What can you use already of your strengths? And, I mentioned your nervous system. There is an assessment that can measure your nervous system. And it's one of those that I use with our clients, but it's very handy because it lays out a path of what are the things that you need to work on in order to get yourself promoted. And it lays it out very clearly. And I love it because it essentially eliminates 6 months of coaching. And so the research and the data says that instead of doing all of those same things that we do over and over again, we really should understand our own nervous system in order to determine, is this the right place for me to advance? Because many times we may not be situated in the right location, right? Some of us are orchids. Some of us are very beautiful orchids, and our nervous system needs the right environment in which to thrive. An orchid needs the right temperature, the right conditions in order to thrive. Some of us, we're orchids, and we need that right condition. Others of us are flowers like dandelions. You put us anywhere, we're going to thrive. It does, right? It's not an issue. That same thing being said, the more beautiful surroundings you can put yourself in, the dandelion will do so much better, right? But there is in each of us inherently our nervous system can help us determine what are the right locations for us. And so, getting down to the basics, are you in the right location?
Mm. Mhm.
Asking that and that's a hard question, because some people, they're bound and determined to move ahead where they are when it might not even be the right location for them. And
Mhm.
that's the biggest problem, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
then also understanding, okay, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? How can I formulate a plan to get myself where I'm trying to go to reach my goals?
Mm.
And then start working the plan
Mm.
and
Start with
start
plan.
working the plan and being persistent about that plan, right? Not giving up. I think persistence is one of it's a beautiful trait that not all of us have.
Mm.
I'm going to raise my hand right now because this is not one of my strongest suits. I'm constantly having to reaffirm myself that no, you committed to this, you're going to do this and
Mhm.
stick with it. And this is where, either having a coach or a thought partner or someone who's going to help hold you accountable can be really helpful.
Mhm.
So hopefully that gives people plenty of things to chew on what they need to do in order to move forward and really get started.
Yeah, absolutely. 1000%. This is gold right now, the content that you're giving us. So I want to ask you this question. In your experience, what habits or behaviors consistently differentiate people who rise quickly within organizations? We all know those, and those who remain overlooked. What habits or behaviors consistently differentiate these two groups?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. So in no particular order that I'm giving this, but the being able to have relationships with others at work, good, healthy relationships, meaning that you may not be a 100% yes person all the time. Being able to voice when you're in disagreement and have that openly do that openly, right? You're not doing it behind closed doors. You're somewhat transparent. Being able to, again, I'm going to go back to your nervous system, being able to have that regulated nervous system, showing up calm, because once you're calm, you're able to tap into communication. You're showing up with executive presence, not because you've studied it, but because it's unmistakable. You cannot not show up with that sort of presence. And so having that communication, having the social networks, not just doing the work, but also thinking a few steps ahead, which
Mhm.
means your calendar is not packed back to back with doing all of the things, right? You have some space that
Mhm.
you've carved out for
Those
thinking,
things.
for thinking strategically. And
Mhm.
oftentimes I'll have, and probably you've had this happen to you too, right? People will walk into my coaching space and they walk out 6 months later with, "Oh my gosh, Lizette, you somehow saved me 15," this blew my mind, 15 to 20 hours a week that I
Mercy.
saved this director. 15 to
Mercy.
20 hours a week. Because why? They were doing all of the things
Mm.
that their people could do. They In developing your people, at some point you need to shift out of I'm doing everything to I'm thinking a little bit ahead, and I am mentoring, I'm coaching, I'm equipping my people to make those decisions and move forward, good, bad, or ugly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Tell us a little bit more about this. I feel like there's a little bit more you want to say about this.
Yeah, about some people call it delegation, right?
Mhm.
But some of our nervous systems are so wired that we have to get it so right that we're so stuck, right? We're those people who are holding on to the bicycle handlebars so tight. Have you ever done this? Ridden on a bicycle and you hold those handlebars so tight, and because it's so tight, guess what? Every little bump is throwing you off.
Mercy.
Whereas when you're holding the handlebars a little loosely, right?
Mm.
You've got a little bit of grace of, okay, they might not get it 100% right, but I'm going to hold the handlebars loosely. Then what happens when you hit the bump? It's like, oh, okay, you can shift with it. It's the same
Mhm.
thing in the workplace. It's the
Mhm.
same thing. Having a loose grip on not your work, but those expectations because oftentimes we can't let go of the things that we do because the way we do them, that's the way we like it, right? But someone else may have a different way of doing it, and it's 1000% okay that they do it differently from you. So releasing your grip a little bit can be a huge relief in the long term for someone, because you're alleviating yourself with tons of work that you now no longer have to do. And you're creating space where now you can think a little bit more strategically and see which of your people, right, you need to put in which spaces, and challenge them. Now you start thinking a little bit differently, because now you're aligning your talent with the goals of your organization in a way that's going to produce efficiency, and it's going to have a bottom line impact to the business, and that is going to have an impact to your career more so than I got to hold the handlebars really tight and do this my way.
Come on, Dr. Warner. Listen, you are teaching tonight. You are teaching today. This is good stuff right here. Everybody that's watching, I hope you have your note-taking devices and you are taking notes. And if you are not taking notes, then that just means you got to go back and watch this on the replay. Because literally, Dr. Warner is giving us the science of promotion, right? And the mindset that we are to have and how we can challenge ourselves. So I want to ask you this question. I'm really curious. What are 2 to 3 things that executives can do immediately, like right now, to accelerate their career without burning out? You know, again, we're talking to leaders in this community who've been leading for a while. Many of us are kind of like that mid-range and we're just like, okay, I'm starting to fizzle out. But what are 2 to 3 things that executives, leaders can do immediately, like today, to accelerate our careers without burning out?
Yeah, so that burnout is crucial, right? So I talk about burnout in terms of burning out is when you have been brilliant for too long. Just like a light bulb, if you put a light bulb in and you keep it turned on, at some stage it is going to burn out. So in the same way, leaders need to pause. They need to take breaks throughout the day.
Yes.
In order to recharge, because it's my belief, to avoid burnout, you need to recharge during your day. And then I'll say something very controversial, which is you can actually end your day with as much energy or more. And I'm going to say that's the norm. It should be the norm that you end your day with as much energy or more than when you started the day. And if you are not, then that is your first test that you have taken, that is the thing that needs to be corrected. So that may be taking breaks in the middle of your day. It may be going for a short walk. It may be watching nature. Oftentimes our body will signal for us to take a break. I know mine is I'll pick up my phone and I'll start scrolling. And I was like, oh, okay. My nervous system is telling me, Lizette, you've sat here for too long. You need to do something else, right? So that listening to your own internal cues, whatever those might be. Now the gross cue is that I gave was at the end of the day. If you're ending with less energy, to start to impact that by either taking breaks during the day or finding those things that are going to recharge you and keeping track of that. We don't know the things that recharge us. It always blows my mind every time I get an executive and we discover all of the things that recharge them and then start building that into their day. So I've given you like 1 or 2 things there that executives can do.
Now, this is so one, you really you got me when you talked about that at the end of the day I should have more energy than when I started the day. Like, okay. And you said if that's not happening, then that's a good place to start. I'm going to raise my hand and say ouch. And to all the leaders, I want to ask you, like, tell us in the chat. Go ahead right now. Do you tend to have more energy at the end of your day? Go ahead and tell us. We want to know. I want to know how many people like me right now are saying, okay, when this is over, I need to stop and write some things down and ask myself some questions. How can we reset what's happening right now? The couple of things that I thought about while you were talking, and I love the fact that you gave us some examples, right? What are some things that we as leaders can start to do, right? So choose one non-negotiable. right? Take a daily mental reset, maybe just a 10-minute, like you said, a 10-minute pause. Just pause, be still, be quiet, let your mind reset. You know, there are sometimes, as Dr. Warner, I work in an office that has no windows.
Mm.
I went and got some greenery and I have it up on my wall so I can see green. You know, I tend to buy flowers and put the flowers in my office every week just so I can have something to bring me alive. But there are some times where I've been working on the computer, I've been sitting in that room, and I'm just like, I got to get up and go for a walk. And I just stop what I'm doing and I get up and I go walk around the building for 10 minutes. If the sun is out, I go and just let that sun shine on me. And you're right, it does something to your whole system. All I need is about a good 10 minutes, get that fresh air, and then go back in, and I'm ready to keep going again.
Yeah.
Right? Leaders, you can do physical movement, weekly strategic thinking time, right? Protected personal boundary. That's a huge one.
Mhm.
That's a huge one right there.
Huge. Yeah. Yeah. Huge.
So, as we turn the corner, I want to ask, actually, I want to ask you another question before we turn the corner.
Oh, sure.
Because you talk about smart rewiring, right?
Mhm.
What is smart rewiring and how is this different from traditional coaching?
Yeah. So smart rewiring, it's a great question. So people are curious. The smart rewiring is first recognizing is the thing that I said, right? Raise your hand if you're ending your day with less energy than what you start, right? So it's recognizing how is my nervous system wired? How am I ending my day, right? It's almost taking inventory. What are my
Mhm,
strengths, weaknesses, those sorts of things? What are the patterns that I'm seeing? And if it's that I'm having less energy at the end of the day, that's something, right? That's something that we're recognizing. Then the second step of smart rewiring is to regulate. So do something in order to regulate yourself. So if it's at the end of the day, you have less energy, then what can you do during your day to start regulating your nervous system so that you can get closer to having more energy or at least the same amount of energy as you started the day. And
mhm,
then the third step is to rewire, right? It's to pound in that habit so that, or that behavior, so that that behavior becomes a habit and it becomes a part of
mhm,
who you are. And you can't remember when's the last time you didn't take a break in the middle of the day or you
mhm,
didn't have that strategic reset. Why? Because your body craves it as much as it craves food and water.
mhm,
And so those are the three steps of smart rewiring.
mhm,
And that first part can be done with inventories, with assessments. We do it at TLC with what we call a blueprint, which I believe every leader should have their own blueprint. It essentially
mhm,
reads your nervous system and lays out a plan of where are your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and what are the steps, what are the one or two things that we can start working on immediately that
mhm.
will start to boost all of your other cognitive functions.
I love this
Yeah.
1000%. And again, to our leaders, I'm really inviting you to hear Dr. Warner and really take an assessment and ask yourself some really pivotal questions. So as we turn the corner on this amazing masterclass that we are receiving right now, I want to ask you this question. If you could leave the listeners and the viewers with one evidence-based best practice for accelerating our path to promotion, what would you recommend that we start doing immediately?
Mm. So, one evidence based practice for accelerating, we've talked about it here, and there is evidence to suggest that those scheduling in breaks every 60 to 90 minutes in your day,
Mhm,
the research shows that that alone will boost your efficiency. It's also going to boost your own energy at the
mhm,
end of the day because what you're doing is you're recharging throughout
mhm,
the day, right? If think of a solar car, you don't just run that thing or even your car if it's on petrol or gas, right? You have to stop every once in a while and refill it. Otherwise, what happens? You're going to end up calling someone to come help you bail you out because you ran out of gas. It's the
mhm,
same thing for us. We rest at night and we feel like, oh, we've got the most energy in the morning, but guess what? You can have that energy the rest of the day if you
mhm.
budget your energy well. and you take those breaks. Yeah.
Wow. This has been an amazing conversation. So I'm going to put you on the spot and just ask you this one final thing. Talk to us as leaders. What final word of inspiration or encouragement would you give to leaders who are struggling right now, right? They want to get promoted and they're trying to figure out how to move themselves accordingly in a manner that allows them to be authentic. What final word of encouragement would you share with us?
Yeah, look, if you're struggling to get promoted and you feel like you're doing all the things, I want to speak to you directly and I want to say it's normal. What you're going through, it's okay. Maybe it's not okay, but it's normal. It's part of the progression of learning. If it was always a success for you, this is what we all crave for, right? We all crave for success, but the truth of the matter is we don't learn from success. You know what teaches us? Failure. Failure has so many lessons in it. So if you feel like I've been a failure, I have not succeeded, I haven't gotten my promotion yet. You haven't gotten your promotion yet.
Yes.
There is hope available. So
Yes.
don't lose hope.
Yes.
You're doing the right things. Obviously, you're listening to this program. Listening is not enough. At some stage, you're going to have to take action and invest in yourself, because I'm going to tell you right now, you are your best investment. You're a sure thing, right? If when I look back on my career, the one thing that paid off more than any stock market tip was me. When I invest in myself, it always pays off because I know what I can do when I put my mind to it.
Yes.
So don't lose heart. Don't lose hope.
Yes.
You're in good company.
I love it. This is fantastic. That's Warner. We're gonna have you come back again. I'm just telling you ahead of time. You can expect another invitation because I feel like we just barely scratched the surface here, and it has been such a rich conversation. So I know that just like me, that there are listeners and watchers, viewers and listeners that want to hear more from you. They want to have a conversation. They want to tap into your book, the resources. What's the best way that we can engage with you?
So you can find me at on LinkedIn. I'm in the hallways of LinkedIn all the time, and you can find any of my resources. I have a newsletter. It's called Your Growth Down to a Science, where I post science-backed tips to help folks get into promotion. And they can also find me on at trustandleadership.com. So we're there. We offer programs for folks. We also have monthly conversations on promotion topics, one topic a month to help people towards their promotion, one conversation at a time.
I love this. All right. Well, listen, Transformation Station, you see the link right there on the screen. It's also in the description box. I want to invite you to go ahead and engage with Dr. Warner. Go ahead and reach out to her. Let her know that you have seen, that you have heard this particular podcast. Engage in the resources, because you know that we believe that the community that learns together grows together. Dr. Warner, thank you so much again for joining us. It has been a joy. And if you accept, you will be back again.
Thank you for having me. It was a lovely conversation.
Thank you. Wow. This was really amazing. Today's conversation is a reminder that career growth is not accidental, it is designed. And when we as leaders understand how decisions are made, we can align our development with the opportunities instead of waiting for recognition. If this episode resonated with you, I want to invite you right now to take one insight that you received from Dr. Warner and apply it intentionally this week. Matter of fact, share what you have learned with another leader in your network and share this episode so they can receive the masterclass as well. Also, be sure to subscribe to Transformation Station and help yourself to continue to navigate your next steps, because we grow together. So until next time, remember, growth isn't just about working harder. It's about working smarter, leading intentionally, and becoming visible for the value you bring every single day.